It is Tuesday, November 29th, 2022. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. Producer Dan Rourke along for the ride as well. Plouffe, it is good to see you. Our first meeting since the Thanksgiving Day holiday, so it's never too late to wish you a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, C. Rose. We actually spoke yesterday. You said you had a great time. You and I both did. I love getting together with the family, no matter the occasion. But Thanksgiving is fun because you just eat and drink and watch football. I mean, what more could you ask for? Thanksgiving is kind of one of those holidays that gets overlooked, and people are like, "Oh, I don't really like Thanksgiving." But when it's here, bro, like,
gosh, really,
your only job is to wake up, eat, and watch football, and maybe wash some dishes and cook a little bit of food. It's awesome.
Yeah, no. This has always been my favorite holiday, in part because it always occasionally would coincide with my father's birthday. So that was always a fun time for us. It's my favorite holiday. I enjoyed it. Loved having both the boys together with Michelle up at her family's place. So I hope everybody out there had a good, happy, healthy Thanksgiving. We start off with the current World Series champion Houston Astros, who are feeling very full after they have added to their first base plate. They have signed at least they're very close to signing. It'll happen today. Former Chicago White Sox MVP Jose Abreu. The report is 3 years, right around $60 million, which is not bad. How much head shaking do you do with this one? Say, yeah, it feels like Houston is a step ahead of everybody else out there.
Well, we knew their hole was going to be at first base. You know, Yuli is a free agent. He didn't really perform well for them last year. Obviously, they didn't need him to. They still won the damn thing. But the names that they were attached to, they seem really feasible for the Astros. I mean, Anthony Rizzo there, we're like, that makes sense. And then Jose Abreu, obviously, on the open market. Well, that makes a lot of sense, too. So they went out and did it. And I think I put out this tweet yesterday. I was like, why are the Astros just so good at this? Like, why did they just go make this move? And then Feo, actually, who's probably in here, he replied, they didn't have many holes to fill. So when you don't have many holes to fill, it kind of makes your job easier. And that made a lot of sense to me, but it seems like they're always kind of one step ahead of everyone. And I love this signing for them. I also put out yesterday that I think Jose Abreu is one of the best pure hitters in baseball. And honestly, like, I stand by that. I've seen this guy up close and personal do it. If you watched, him last year at all, he had another great year, 824 OPS, 133 OPS plus. I mean, this guy he's a guy you want up there in big at bats. And guess what's going to happen with the Astros next year? There's going to be big moments, big at bats. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're most likely going to be in the ALCS. And to have this guy, I don't even know where he's going to hit in the lineup, Chris. Sixth.
Yep. Yeah, probably sixth. And that's, to me, that's the biggest thing, is that the Astros won the World Series and they got virtually nothing from Yuli Gurriel during the regular season. The dude hit 8 homers. He had a negative WAR. When you sign Jose Abreu, to me, part of the question is it a bigger gain for the Astros or a bigger loss for the White Sox? This guy is always in the lineup. There's only been one season where he didn't play at least 90% of the White Sox games. He was the mark of consistency on a team which was always dealt with inconsistency, whether that's because the players weren't good enough or the players weren't healthy enough or they just couldn't be out there for whatever reason. He was the model of consistency. I get it. His home run numbers were down a bit last year. He only hit 15 or so, but he still had over 40 doubles. I think his walk rate was the highest of his career. And yeah, I mean, here's the thing is that some teams would look at Jose Abreu as the 3 or 4 hitter. Like, it sounded like my Guardians made a 3-year offer to him. He would have been put right behind Jose Ramirez. Here, you hide him in the Astros lineup. So you've already dealt with Altuve, and you've dealt with Pena, and you've dealt with Bregman, and you've dealt with Jordan, and you've dealt with Tucker. Oh, here comes a former league MVP. Like, that's awesome for them.
He's played 9 years in the big leagues, Chris. Only 2 years has he not received MVP votes. In the one year that he didn't receive MVP votes, he still won the Silver Slugger and was an all-star. So, like, he's a player. And my affinity for Cuban ball players. So they just went from one Cuban ball player to a younger version and maybe a little bit better of a hitter. I mean, it's an upgrade. And I think he's defensively, like, pretty good over there too.
Certainly solid enough. Speaking of Chicago, it appears to be on the verge of signing Mike Clevinger to a 1-year deal right around $8 million. This is pending a physical. In your opinion, is this a smart move by the Southsider, or should they have brought back the likes of Johnny Cueto?
I mean, look, this is a brilliant move by them. It's a very low risk move. I believe there'll probably be some incentives in that $8 million deal, whether it's, innings or games started, or maybe there's a mutual option on the back end for a year 2. There's going to be some more than just a 1-year 8. I'm assuming. I know fans want to bring back Johnny Cueto because he was so good for them last year, but I think Clev, coming off of TJ last year, velo was down a little bit, but we know there's been many instances before where guys come back, and when they first come back from Tommy John, just don't look like themselves. They're not stretched out. They're not firing on all cylinders. I believe a healthy offseason and then coming back into the fold where, honestly, Chris, he's going to be the 4 or 5 starter? Like, pressure's off for him. Maybe. What else is he going to be?
Well, in part because of the injuries on this rotation.
Sure.
I mean, listen, Dylan Cease has solidified himself atop the rotation. Lance Lynn, he missed the first few months last year because of the knee. And you could say, well, he's not going to, he's in his 30s. You just never know. Something could happen there. Michael Kopech, he's not the model of perfect health. He hasn't been. And by the way, Mike Clevinger hasn't been either. Only one time in his career has he pitched more than 126 innings in a season. So while we both love the idea of the 1-year deal, I think that if the White Sox try to get tricky here and maybe deal from their rotation, right? There's talks that our buddy Lucas Giolito could be on the move. I mean, if they do that, first of all, they're selling low. He had a terrible year. Lucas will tell you that. But, to me, there's still a lot of questions about this team. This didn't help answer any.
Yeah, here's the thing, though. Like, the AL Central is up for the taking. I know your Guardians had a really good year last year, but I don't see them as like this stalwart at the top of the division. So I don't see them. I understand when you have 5 starters like this and some young guys that you can call upon that maybe you'd want to deal from a position of depth, but starting pitching depth is just so important. If you go during the season, they start off poorly, then yeah, maybe you look to move at the deadline or something like that. But I believe this team is looking at themselves like, hey, we can win this division, or we can make a wild card. Dude, I had this team in the World Series last year, and I know Jose Abreu, I got to be honest with you, him being gone makes me not like this team as much. I really, really, really like him in the clubhouse and in the middle of that lineup, but I think there's plenty still there on that roster. And I really like this signing. I think Clev could end up being, a really good piece for them. And again, if stuff hits the fan and they're not performing well, but Clev is, then he's an obvious trade candidate at the deadline.
Yeah. Listen, I think it's fine. It's less than $10 million guaranteed. It's fine. It's just listen, I watched Clevinger pitch some great games in Cleveland. Really did. But it has been a total loss ever since he got traded to San Diego, all over the place. And then when he had to pitch big for the Padres, didn't they have a 3-0 lead in the game he pitched, and he didn't even record an out in the playoffs?
They're hoping for a different Clev there. I have a question for you, though, because we kind of got brought up yesterday on Talking Baseball. Does Clev lean into the sunshine character on the South side, or does he go like Garth Brooks' alter ego and go black hair, like punk rocker? Like, what are we doing here?
How about pitch and be healthy? Okay. Let's stop with the shtick. I love personality and everything. You can't not get an out in the playoffs.
Listen, everyone likes personality when the guy that has the big personality is performing well, and everyone hates personality when the guy that has personality is performing poorly. That's just how it goes, man.
Yeah, the only thing that people remember about Mike Clevinger in Chicago is that it was he and Plesac who went out during the COVID restrictions, and Plesac ended up getting sent home, and Clevinger didn't. So that's all anybody remembers.
I don't condone that behavior, but damn, I love going out in Chicago. It's nice.
Yeah, you and me both, man. We've had some long nights there, no question. Hey, today's edition of Baseball Today is sponsored by BetterHelp Therapy Online. You've heard me talk an awful lot about therapy. I'm a big believer in it. I've been in and out of therapy ever since I was a little kid. It wasn't a specific incident that caused it. My parents always felt like talking through whatever issues you're having in life, because as great as life might be going for you, there's always some sort of roadblock you have to maneuver through. And so therapy has always been a big part of my personal life. And now, thanks to BetterHelp Therapy Online, it has never been easier for you to attain that help. Also, when people raise their hand and say, I need help, I think probably 15, 20 years ago, people would have said, boy, what's going on with you? You know, that there's a weakness. Well, today that stigma is gone, thankfully. We have really turned the corner on that. So if you are having an issue, whether it's in a relationship or something with work, or you're just having trouble getting motivated, a place like BetterHelp Therapy is the place to be. They will set up a meeting for you. You will meet with a therapist. These are vetted therapists that are available 100% online, and you'll get matched up. If things don't work out, if you're not clicking, no big deal. You give a wave, you say, all right, we're on to the next therapist, and hopefully that matchup will work for you. Now, whether or not you've been in therapy personally, take that step. If you're having issues, and it certainly happens around the holidays a lot, because as happy and as joyous a time it is for some, it can be a very lonely place for others. So this is the time for you to go seek help. Go also save 10% on your first month at betterhelp.com/baseball today. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/baseball today. We are rooting for you, and we want to help you out as well. We return back to the show, and the reason I am donning a very unfamiliar Detroit Tigers cap is because Miguel Cabrera came out yesterday and announced that 2023 will be his final season. Now, Plouffe, how confident are you that the future Hall of Famer will give us the sort of excitement that Albert Pujols did in his final spin around the baseball globe?
I'm not confident in that at all, because you're talking about Pujols and the run that he went on, to reach his homer plateau, on a really good St. Louis Cardinals team that jumped the Brewers and made the playoffs. It's a different scenario here. Miggy, I love Miggy. That. I think he's my favorite right-handed bat that I've ever played against. His swing is him and Mike Trout's swing. They're the swings that are studied more than anyone's swing in all of baseball. All the hitting coaches look to them to show people how to hit. And again, I don't know if you know this, Chris, I used to play, and I got to see this dude up close and personal. So I know just how special he is as a player. But the Tigers just aren't going to go on this type of run. I hope they prove me wrong. They lost 96 games last year, and I don't know if they're going to get much better during the offseason. We'll see. I think they'll be a little bit better than that. But I think what people need to do with this last year is really just appreciate watching Miggy in the box, watching him work at bats, watching him with runners in scoring position, runner on third base, less than 2 outs in those situations, the type of hitter that he is. He's one of the best right-handed hitters of all time. 500 homers, 3,000 hits, surefire Hall of Famer. Just go watch him, because it's going to be our last time to see him. And again, his mechanics are the purest, in baseball.
So last year, I personally thought there was no way Albert Pujols was going to reach 700 homers, but something happened to him. And actually, I just interviewed new Marlins skipper and former Pujols teammate and Cardinals bench coach of a season ago, Skip Schumacher. That interview is going to come out probably next week. And we had a long discussion about Albert Pujols, and he gave us some fascinating stuff that we didn't know about Albert possibly not continuing throughout the entire season. I bring that up because there's no milestones for Miggy to reach at this point. He's already done the 500 homer, 3,000 hit thing, and that was awesome. We both agree that barring some monumental moves by the Tigers, they're going to be pretty much the same team that we saw a year ago, and it's going to be whether or not some of this young pitching can grow up in front of our eyes, and some of the veterans that they brought in don't stink. So as far as that excitement, it's not going to be there. So what we have to do is appreciate what the guy has accomplished in years past. And I remember last year, Manny Machado came out and said, why aren't we like bidding adieu to Albert Pujols the way that people were like Chipper Jones? I was like, yeah, you're right. Because Albert Pujols was 5 times the player that Chipper Jones was. And Chipper Jones was a easy Hall of Famer. They should be doing the same thing for Miguel Cabrera, in part because he has, since over the last 10 years, has there been a guy who's interacted with fans more than Miggy? Anybody?
No, he's great over there. I mean, he's like the guy on the other team that you want to hate, but he's just so fun to watch. And like you said, like out there, he plays the game with joy, like, you know, and I think that resonates with a lot of people, resonates with me at least.
Yeah. So I think that's what we should take from it. We should enjoy it when he comes to your park for the last time. And now with the new schedule, he'll get to say goodbye to even more fans around the country, which I think is awesome. I want to see him on the mound. Yes, sir. Any chance
we see him move to a contender, like say he gets off to a good start, do you think the Tigers will let him do that?
First of all, I don't see it. I mean, last year he was off to a great start for him. And did you see his numbers at the end when he was done playing his 112 games? 5 homers, OPS. I'm
saying the same thing with Pujols, though. You know, he had put together some crazy season. Then he found some joy because they were winning. It's a different atmosphere, stuff like that. I mean, I'm not going to put a 0% chance on that happening, Chris.
No, not 0, because he's going to go out and play next year. But it's not higher than 5%.
Okay.
That's not to be mean. Just saying, dude's turning 40 next year. And we haven't seen one inkling of it. We did with Pujols when he went to the Dodgers.
Would he waive his no trade clause? Do you think if hey man, we got the Yankees are hot right now and they need a right-handed DH? Do you think he'd waive it?
I think he would. I think he would for the last 2 months of a run. Don't you?
Interesting. I don't know, man. Like he's done. Like he said, this is it. And then so part of me says, hey, he just wants to run it out and be comfortable. But then at the same time, he's done. And it'd be nice for him to get another shot at like real baseball, like meaningful baseball.
Yeah. And by the way, when I said the thing about Chipper Jones, that's not a shot at Chipper Jones. Albert Pujols is one of the greatest players we've ever seen. Chipper Jones is a legendary player as well. But I mean,
you said 5 times though, maybe just like 1.5 times or something.
Maybe 1.5. You're right. I overestimated on the 5 times. So there you go.
5 times better than me. Yes. Maybe 10 times.
Oh, yeah. Well, 10 times better than you.
Probably. Yeah. Probably more.
Well, yeah. You hit 106 homers. He hit 700. 11 times better.
Stop, bro.
12 times. Should we move on?
What's he doing on a blitzball field?
Yeah. Has he played with Vinny Rottino? I think not.
Probably.
MLB.com's Juan Toribio reports that the Dodgers are interested in Milwaukee shortstop Willy Adames. Is that a better move for the Dodgers at short rather than getting a high-priced free agent or bringing back Trey Turner, who would be high-priced as well, to maybe try and make a trade and pry away Adames from a place like Milwaukee?
I like the move. I mean, I would love Willy Adames, you know, seeing him with the Dodgers. I'd also kind of hate it because I have an affinity for the Brew Crew and they really disappointed me last year. And if they did this, then we're talking like Hunter Renfroe gone, Josh Hader gone, Willy Adames gone. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what's going on? Youth movement completely over there. So I don't want to see it happen. This is what I'm going to say. This is like, it's just posturing by both sides here. And rumor season is in full force. And I think we have to like kind of understand what's going on. This is like a bad relationship in the movies. I was watching White Lotus season 2. Okay, there's a scene there where it's like this guy and this girl, they're at the bar, but they're trying to like make each other jealous. So they're kissing and then he's kissing and she's kissing. They're looking at each other. That's what's going on here. The Dodgers are like, hey, we don't have to go get one of these free agent shortstops. We can go do this. And then on the other side, all the free agent shortstops are like, oh, I'm going to talk to this team and that team and this team. Everyone's just trying to make each other jealous. Just relax, people, and do all this behind closed doors. I don't want to sit here and talk about rumor season. Of course, I'd like to see Willy Adames in freaking Dodger blue. It'd be amazing. Don't tell Milwaukee fans that, though. They would hate that. I don't know, man. The whole like back and forth rumor season, John Heyman, fucking Baseball Today, all those guys, you need to just chill out.
Yeah, we come up with a lot of the rumors. That's true. We break all the news
You
here
know
in
what I mean,
baseball
though?
today.
It's like, come on.
Well, I would
Showing
say this,
interest in.
well, this one intrigued me because it does make a little bit of sense if Milwaukee is in the sell mode. And man, that would be rough for Brewers fans because you and I, we both like the Brewers. You know, they've been fun the last few years. And last year they did a salary dump and then they took a dump over the last 2 months and it wasn't pretty. With Adames, it does make sense. He's still only 27, I believe. He has 2 years of control. The Dodgers have some guys that are coming up that they're going to have to pay, right? I mean, I imagine they want to pay Will Smith, keep him around. I imagine they want to keep Julio Urias around at some point. So those contracts, even though they're not up, it's stuff that you got to start thinking about in terms of the world of extensions. They also could go the free agent route, but I think it's tricky. I think if they don't bring back Trey Turner, I would pass on the rest of them. He's the guy you know the best. And, he was great out here. He was ideal. He was perfect. But if you're not, Willy Adames ain't bad. Power hitter. His average dipped a little bit last year. I didn't love that. We know he's not a huge walk guy, but plays solid defense. And by the way, I think the fans in LA would love him. Love his personality.
I was just gonna say the guy would be an absolute star, and you and I would benefit from that because he's a buddy of mine. And we just go ride his coattails, baby.
Yeah, why not? That's really what it's all about.
That's really what it's all about. No,
Hey, by the way, thumbs up or thumbs down on White Lotus? Michelle and I were just talking about it last night. Should we start it?
Oh yeah, you should. Yeah. It's a good watch, especially for couples. I think that's kind of whenever you run into a show that you and your spouse can watch together, I'm all about it.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I want to say one thing.
Yes.
And now I'm kind of forgetting. Oh yeah, Willy Adames. I think he's a player that likes playing meaningful baseball. And, the Milwaukee Brewers kind of, like you said, took a dump at the end of the season, put him on the Dodgers in that lineup. I know people hate on us because we're always like, he should go to the Dodgers. He should do this. But, you put him in a lineup like that, I think those numbers go.
Well, we can only deal with the reports that are given us. So Juan gave us that report, and that's what we went with. Before we get out of here, Giancarlo Stanton, if you follow him on Instagram, you've noticed that he has taken an amazing trip over to Egypt with a bunch of his boys, one of whom I know. And the pictures are unreal. If you had G's cash flow, where's the one place you would love to go for like a month?
Can you imagine being Giancarlo Stanton? Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I know you can't even fathom that, Chris.
No.
I
just want to borrow his body for like 24 hours so I could walk around everywhere with my shirt off.
Shout out to him for being in the motherland. Obviously, I'm very partial to Egypt because I have my Egyptian goddess. My kids are Egyptian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make a trek over there eventually. So shout out there. If I did have his dough, I got a little bit of dough. I don't have Giancarlo Stanton dough. There's no doubt about that. I would go to the French countryside. I want to go visit my people out there and have some nice wine, eat some good food, enjoy that beautiful, lush countryside there in my homeland. What about you, Chris?
I like that. By the way, would you go by Plouffe over there like we called you during floorball?
Of course I would, yeah.
Of course you would.
Yeah, of course.
I've always heard amazing things about like Monte Carlo. Interesting. Although I've never been to like beautiful, I've never been to Tuscany. I think I'd love to go to Tuscany.
You should go to go to wine country in Italy. You would just fall in love.
I know, but I don't know if I could do it for a month. I think my brain would get bored.
I think you'd be surprised. I think you'd find yourself really loving life over there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You know what? Leave a comment in the comment section on our YouTube channel. Let us know where we should go for a month if funds were G limited. That's what we like to say.
What a life, bro.
Dude.
He's a valley boy.
Yeah, I mean, but good for him. He loves to travel. And it's nice that he takes care of his boys, too.
Is he with Ramos in Alaska? That's his crew. Does he have a new crew now?
No. I think it's his high school buddies. Like the guy I know that's on the trip was one of his high school football teammates.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's a trainer out here. And when I used to go to a gym, I'd see him. So there you go. We're back at it again. I think on Thursday is what we'll do. We'll get you all set for the winter meetings, which are fast approaching next week in San Diego. We will certainly have some John Boy Media representation. We'll unveil that coming up later in the week as well. For the one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you next time here on Baseball Today.